Welcome to the Jeremy Mullins podcast. I am Jeremy, your host. I'm here today with my co-host, Mr. Jeffrey Reno.
What's going on, sir?
Back in the saddle. I feel like we're rolling now, you and I.
We're back in it. Yeah, this is 2 weeks in a row now.
All right, so maybe that's not back in it, but I feel like we got momentum going.
We have episodes in the pipeline, and we're still recording, which is is good for what we've been used to the last few months.
Hey, we're talking about it. You were gone. I guess this is the difference between a full AGR military individual like yourself and then traditional M-Day SME like me. You
Mm-hmm.
go away to school for what? 3 months? 4 months?
It was 5 months school, 6 months total with all the holidays.
Yeah. And then I'm only away for 2 weeks.
Yeah. My work trips are 1 to 2 weeks. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And they even changed this, from a month course to it's 2 weeks now, and then we come back for 2 weeks. But I think a lot of that is it's a medical, it's a medical officer. So you're talking about a lot of people in quote unquote the real world that are doing medical things. So it's hard for them to get a month away from a hospital setting or a clinic setting.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's one of the big reasons they went to the 2 weeks, and then you got 13 months to come back and do the other 2 weeks. So it's hard though, man. Like especially like being a quote schmee in nutrition and exercise, like all this stuff is like field hospital and it's medical, and I'm like I'm not in this.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even in the medical unit. Like so, definitely gonna have to grease the wheels and do some study in the next week or so.
Yeah. Throw not only just go back into the not even the basics. You're just going tossed right into things you just never had a chance to learn. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it, as far as being a direct commission and already having a degree in nutrition, we got some stuff at Bullock, but Bullock was more, of experience in what our soldiers would go through is the way I look at that saying it, right? They took you to
Hmm.
the field and you were going to experience some of this stuff for a short period of time versus more organizational leadership. So it's good, but it's totally different versus I'm used to once again, sports or not sports, but specific for training and nutrition. So, but I think it was into today's topic, like, basically in PowerPoints and lectures, from early morning to afternoon, and I'm hopping straight out of there and coming doing, jumping in the app, answering emails, and doing all my other stuff. And it's like I got to be as efficient as possible this week to have me time. Now, once again, I don't have responsibilities in the evenings like I would have at home with the kids and that type of stuff. So it's pretty easy to balance it, but it got us thinking about like everyone just trying to fit more in. And I got being efficient 100%. Like the more efficient you can be, the more work that can get done, you know. But I think there is a fine balance of like, if you're efficient and you keep adding more to your plate, you're efficient, keep adding more to your plate. There's a point that like you're going to be overwhelmed because there's just not enough time in the day to work things in.
Yeah, I found myself listening to another podcast, and it was like 60 things you can do to prioritize and get things done faster. And it's just like I'm not even halfway through the podcast, and I'm just like anxiety just listening to all the things that this person is doing, like setting a timer, having 10 minutes to do this job, and then they move on. And it's just like in a time right now, like I don't have kids, I don't have anything, but like I just need to slow down. Like my hours in the days are going by so fast. My days are going fast. My weeks are fast. My months are fast. So I think I'm trying to just slow everything down.
Well, I hate to tell you, I hate to be the one that brings you, bad news, but
Yeah.
you know, if and when kids come, it's going to go by even faster. What's the saying? The days are long, but the years are short.
I feel like nothing is long anymore. Like I know we got a lot of irons in the fire with just different things that we're doing, and let alone the military stuff. Uh, but man, it can get tough sometimes.
Yeah, and I get what people are doing and having all these things right to be more efficient. And I think yeah, more efficient, but I think as you mentioned, slowing down and having some time to a reflect, a b meditate, c work out, like do some of those things, I think can make you more efficient, right?
Mhm.
And what I would encourage people to really look at, to get more shit done, for lack of better terms, is just during your blocks that you're working, work and cut out the distractions, right? But then have those periods of time that are, downtime that you can reflect. And that's going to look different for everyone, right? That could be one day a week. That could be an hour within a 12-hour day. Like there needs to be these periods of time that you slow down to kind of regenerate yourself. And I think in this whole world of social media and quote, people grinding and all that stuff, like it's perception and people want to look at it and be like, "Oh, I grind all the time. I never take a play off." And yes, while there's some people that are dedicated and live that, no one's doing that 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
No one is, something 24/7. And there's some people maybe come really close to it, but it's not what most people think. And the average individual that's sitting out there and be like, "Well, I have to do this in order to have success." I would disagree with some of that stuff that's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see literally just the quick Google. It's 96% of workers report feeling pressure to be productive even during times of rest. And that has them looking every 6 to 10 minutes at productivity tools.
So
So
if we're looking at tools, how much work is not being done when you're looking at either stats or how to be more productive.
yeah, every 6 to 10 minutes, you're picking up your phone, looking at a calendar, you're looking at something so that way you can speed something up, like whether it's a timer, whether it's this. So like, yeah, how you might get 10 to 15 minutes of work and then you're for 6 to 10 minutes later, you're rechecking something. So yeah, I wish I had the answers because I'm stuck in the same boat, but it is scary to see 96%.
Yeah, and that reminds me, I think the book's name was, "Don't Check Emails in the Morning," and I'm pretty sure that was the title. And I read this maybe a decade ago, and it really like kind of set home to it. But it's like, if you got a bunch of stuff that needs to be done, don't necessarily check your emails right away because once you get in the emails, you're getting more stuff and you're being pulled away, right? And the concept was, okay, get the two big projects or the three big projects that you need to get done, then slide into your emails, right? And then when you're in emails, concentrate on your emails, knock them out. And that's the reason on all my computers, things are on silent. So, you don't get through and and the message says you have mail comes
Yeah.
through, right? Totally joke. I'm aging some of us. It's been around for a while. Now it's like the little ding or whatever it is, from that standpoint. But I like that concept of like, prioritizing your day and, okay, for the next hour, you're doing this. And that's what a lot of times I do. So I'll get into, the app and I'll be like, okay, for the next hour, I'm answering assessments, right? And that's what I focus on. And then if I'm going to do a walk during the day, then I'm like, okay, for the next hour, I'm going to answer messages and do video messages. So I kind of take these blocks of time that, okay, for this next period, I'm doing this. And then I try to be as efficient and get as much stuff done during that time period as possible.
Yeah, I've noticed that you definitely do well at that of like, okay, if I'm going to go do this for me, like the walks, you're still working or getting those messages out where someone like me, like I like to intentionally take a break, but then I'm not, there's things I could be doing during that walk or during me just chilling on the couch and just sitting there like that aren't heavy intensive on my brain. And so I do enjoy seeing you prioritize in that way. And I could definitely do better there.
Well, and I don't think it's better. It's just like, what do you want that walk to be? Right.
Hmm.
So if it's a walk with like the family, then okay, I'm not answering messages, and that's really filling the family block, right?
Hmm.
So I think it just depends on what you're doing with that, because that's kind of my I got two big points I want to bring up with this. And that one of them was what you just mentioned, but like I feel like people want to not take an hour out of the day, 30 minutes out of the day, or one day a week, or one week a year, or whatever it is, like, and not take a rest day or take vacations. I've been really surprised to look at the numbers of how many people like don't take their vacations and they just save them and they never go for these periods of time that are relaxing and allowing themselves to recover.
Hmm.
And I get it. Like, hey, you get parents out there, totally understand. When you take your kids on vacation, it's really not a vacation. You need a vacation from the vacation. So I get it from that aspect. But my point being, like, we got to have some downtime to be able to recover, and it's not just like you're not losing because if you look at things over the course of a week, over the course of a month, right? No different than investments. right? And you start training. If we're talking about training, it's about, okay, how many, if you looked at it, it's like how many reps, how many load, all that comes in. What is the intensity of the workout? Taking a day off is not going to affect that, because you take a day off and you're fully recovered, then odds are you're going to be able to move more weight, run faster, whatever it is. So you're going to continue to have that fitness level go up, because you're always pulling fatigue from the previous workouts into your workout. Right. But from the central nervous system, like, when you take a break, you reduce mental fatigue, you restore focus, you improve your reaction time, increase your mood. All those are going back to what we were talking about earlier. If you do all those 4 things, you're going to be more efficient when you're blocking this time off for work.
Yeah, I've noticed after a vacation or like a mini trip, if we ever take one, and I intentionally I don't take a work laptop, or I don't take a laptop.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing anything work. I might be on social and just mind-numbingly scroll and stuff like that. But like when I'm not doing something, I'm able to just uh yeah, disassociate from the real world and be on vacation. When I come back, there's like a new level of productivity without even doing the productivity things.
Without even thinking about it, right?
Not
So,
even thinking about it.
and that's where, like, I get it, and you look at, I mean, ideally, yeah, if you could take a week off every quarter, like, that would be great. And I understand people can't do that, but that's why you got to look at it in the micro cycles of what does it look like on a daily basis, maybe even an hour basis, or a weekly basis, right? You got to really look at what works for you. Okay. I'm an extrovert. Like, I enjoy standing in front of people and lecturing. I enjoy being around people. But when I need to recover, I like to be myself. I like for it to be quiet. Ideally, in the outdoors, it doesn't always happen. So that's what I've learned for myself. And what it allows me to do, I look at on the average of the week. So if I'm trying to send 500 messages a day on average, then yeah, there might be days during the week that's 1,000 messages, but I might have one day a week that's a 0,
Hmm.
right? Because maybe I don't even open the app on that day, because I just, I pull myself away from it. I take time away from it, because then I can give better quality conversations to the people I'm working with, versus looking at me like, okay, I got to send 500 messages every day. I got to be, I got to stay grinding and be efficient, from that standpoint, versus looking at, okay, the goal is 500. Okay, I'm totally making these numbers up,
Yeah.
but the goal is 500 on average. Well, then I know when I take that day off, like, that one day is going to be big, right? Like, so either the next 2 days are big because I bring that rejuvenized focus into the work platform.
Do you think, I know the answer to this, but do you think that hustle and grind culture has hurt people's ability to like have transformations from weight loss and all that stuff?
100%, right? Because we look at life like no one's out there living without stress, right? No one. And I get it all the time. Why is my cortisol levels up? What can I do about this stress? But here we are, thinking that no rest days and no time to decompress, is a bad thing. So yeah, like, I feel like it is hurting people a lot of times not to take time to themselves to fully recover physically, but also mental. Like, I feel like that's the big thing that needs that regeneration, is pulling yourself out of whatever it is, right? And regenerating physically and mentally, so that you can go back and perform at higher levels, right?
Hmm.
And performance here is not necessarily in the gym. This is also at work.
Yeah, I see. It says people often spend 10 to 13 hours oriented around productivity or improvement. And that's, I'm assuming, on a weekly basis, but that's not Saturday and Sunday. So that's 5 days you're spending 10 to 13. So you're spending, a full workday plus, you know, 5, 6 hours of overtime focused on trying to make things more proficient, which
Yeah.
in turn is adding a full day's worth of work onto your plate. Um, we all need to slow down.
Yeah, and slow down doesn't mean that you're not working hard,
Correct.
right? That's or you're not working. We're not saying that, but really looking at it and being like, okay, if I have 8 hours, like, I'm going to do 8 hours of work, and I'm going to be as efficient as possible in those 8 hours,
Hmm.
versus working 10 hours, and not being efficient, because then you're just losing that time.
Hmm.
And speaking of time, the other thing I looked up when we were talking about, we were decided we were going to talk about this. The average person, average adult, spends 2.5 hours on social media a day. And I got it. Do not get upset with me and be like, well, Jeremy, I post because I market my business. Okay, I got you. I got you. But how long does it take to physically make that post?
Hmm.
And go back and check and maybe answer some messages or, comment to someone that commented on yours. I get it. There's some time there, but not 2.5 hours worth. So, challenging people, you want to be more efficient. Where are we losing time? That would be the other thing I would put out there so that you can slow down. So that it doesn't need to be more hours in the day that you're working. What can we do? I'll just say social media would be the big one. I would say, hey, let's take a look at that and see if we can fix it.
I did this experiment, I don't know, probably 2 years ago. And, in social media, I've been in social media for my job, almost my entire adult life. But 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I guess it was kind of during the H2F realm. And I would only get on there to post and ghost, maybe comment on a few things, but that's just post and ghost, and that was it. I was spending
Yeah.
17 minutes a day when I was doing that. And now I'm posting every day, but now I'm still in that hour and a half, 2.5 hour window of just doom scrolling.
Doom
And
scrolling. Yeah. And I mean, listen, I've been guilty of it myself. So,
yeah,
but, once again, just something to be aware of. And if you want to fix. Now, the other question I have, and I would put to the listeners this: do you want to improve your performance in the quote fitness space and inside work? Do you want to have better physical outcomes? So decrease body fat, increase muscle tissue, from that standpoint. Do you want to increase cognitive skills, work standpoint? You want to improve your mood? Do you want to live longer? All those can be related back to slowing down, taking rest days so that you can achieve all those things. So I would encourage people to take a look at what they've been doing, right? Take a look at, hey, grinding 7 days a week isn't necessarily the way to increase performance. It's more of the average, right? And I'm not, you got to step back and look at it. Like, if taking a day off, you can come back and be stronger faster. That's going to cause your body to adapt. And I think that's a big concept a lot of people miss because, especially in the fat loss world, it's about, well, I got to work out every day because I got to burn these calories to burn the body fat. Versus there's a reason there are periodic rest days in professional athletes' programs because rest to work ratio becomes very important in our workouts. Rest to work ratio becomes very important in our lives.
absolutely.
What do you think is your best work to off ratio?
Um, I would say if I could do work really hard, so those could be 8 to 12 hour work days, 3 days in a row, and then I take a full day, and then can go right back at it. And it doesn't have to be. I don't need a full weekend. It's just I could do 3 hard working days, and I've experienced this with the military because it's typically one really hard day, easy day, one really hard day, but 3 full hard days, and then I just need a full day to like disappear, and then I can go back at it.
Yeah. No, I feel like in an ideal world, two, and this is kind of what I do right now. Um, there's 2 days a week that I put all my like visual stuff, like one-on-one meetings, calls, where it's like I'm there in person or on computer, I guess, not in
Mhm.
person, right? So I try to like load up my Tuesday, Thursdays where those are super busy days, right? And that leaves flexibility for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And when I say about flexibility is, it's still working, but it doesn't have to be on point as much as the Tuesday, Thursdays. So it's almost like, having a little bit of built-in rest in different ways. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think if you could really take a complete day off, I think for me, excluding family, because that always throws in the big twist, right? Would be two 10 to 12s, and then like a couple hours of work, and then have the day off.
Mhm.
So that would be like ideal. I think balance would be like 2 full days. And the reason I say a couple hours of work is for me, just being able to check in, know where I'm at with certain things, projects, and all that brings a little bit like decreases that anxiety, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, and the other thing I was going to say, like, and then once a quarter, love to have like a 3 day block that's in the woods or in the mountains with nothing. Like that would be
Mhm.
ideal. Now, once again, does that happen? No, but I try to do it on micro level. For example, like travel down here, 2 early mornings in a row. Yesterday, had some time off, and luckily got up early, did extra work, got out of our class earlier, so I went and rode my bike for a couple hours. So it was like a surprise. Got out, but that filled that cup, right?
Mhm.
And then today's been, got up early, did some regular work before I went to class, got out of class, and then here I am. This evening it's scheduled up until 9 o'clock work, right?
Yep.
So I'm front loading my week to get things done, knowing that later in the week I may need to do a little bit more recovery. So, and I think that'll vary person to person.
Yeah, I definitely, and this maybe just is like the film person in me, because usually you just ride it hard until it's done, and so it's one of those things. It's like I really want to get into it um, right out of the gate. So if it's say it's a Monday work day, I'd rather just dive straight into it and work really hard until that project is done, um, and then I definitely feel accomplished and I can take a big break. It's the weeks, and I'm sure you've experienced this, especially like office life when you're back in like St. Louis. It's the weeks that you are putting in so
Yep.
much work, but it's not work. Like you're
Yep.
there, you're clocking in, you're putting in all these hours, and a month goes by, and you're like, what did we accomplish? Those
Yep.
are that's like my nightmare.
Yeah, and I think that's where just learning, like, for example, when we do Team Alpha weekend, like that will be a busy week. And I'll
Hmm.
need a couple days to kind of recover and just re-energize after that because it's forward facing, doing a lot of conversations, staying up late, getting up early, entertaining, so those are all things to take in. But like people got to realize because I feel like it's unwritten that you got to grind if you're going to have success. But I think having a balance of knowing when to take recovery days, if we're talking about training, knowing when to take I hate to use the term personal day, but when to slow down. I love you using that terminology that you had. Learning where to slow down in your daily life will increase productivity and increase success.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, guys and gals, we always appreciate you for listening to the podcast. I hope you are having a great week, and we'll talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, soon.
So you